side of the aisle. So why don't you stand with me and sing our joy song? Our joy song.
I grow spiritually as I allow my own unique creativity to flower. How wonderful it is to realize that each one of us is a person created as an expression of God. As such, each is one of a kind. There's even a different creativity within us. Not all of us can be healers or painters or chefs or carpenters, but we can all learn to use our own creativity in our own ways. Growth comes when we allow ourselves to follow God's way, taking our cues from Him. Do not settle for the experience of others, said the minimalist painter Agnes Martin. If you follow others, you are in reality at a standstill. Good words to remember if we feel we should be reaching a certain spiritual attainment because a friend is at that point, or if our creativity does not express itself in one of the more popular outlets. There are many ways for creativity to flower in one's life. Intuition, the listening in silence for the hunch or the desire. These will show us where our gifts lie. Praying, and then following the lead of the Spirit, giving thanks always, we make each day a time of moving forward, of spiritual attainment. The Lord called him, and Samuel answered, "Here I am." 1 Samuel 3:4.
Thank you, Kate. Thank you, Kate. Now can we all stand and sing our first hymn, page 80? Verses. 2 verses. She's taller.
Find Well, good morning, everybody.
Morning, Nancy.
So glad to be here, standing here, actually, in front of everybody. And before I actually get started, I just want to thank everybody for coming to visit me in the hospital and sending me cards and coming to visit me at my house and all the prayers. Because I believe that the prayers are just as effective as the medication that I have to take. I truly and honestly believe that. So actually I found out from somebody at St. Elizabeth's that there are people in Africa praying for me right now through the St. Luke's Society. So anyway, that's really heartwarming, and I just want to thank everybody. So today's Bible verse comes to us actually from the Phillips translation, and it comes from Matthew 12, somewhere around verse 30. They're describing how the Pharisees are watching Jesus. And I mean, they're like zeroing in on him and watching him. Now this word Pharisee, actually, if you look it up in the dictionary, it says a self-righteous person, a hypocrite. The Pharisees were actually members of an ancient sect, and they were Jewish people, and they were distinguished from other Jewish people because they were really strict in their observances. I guess we would call them Orthodox Jews, perhaps, at this time. Or far-right Jews, perhaps. As opposed to far-left Jews. They really followed all the... Well, okay, that's too loud, I think, maybe?
All right, got it.
Well, okay, is that better? I think that's better. Okay. They followed all the laws very, very strictly, but they were seen as being very pretentious and very superior to everyone around them. So they're like eyeballing Jesus, and they're actually, okay, there's still something not right here. It might be too loud, or am I too close to this microphone? Maybe that's it. Okay.
Where's the microphone?
Yeah, off. It's off.
Okay.
Turn around when you come back up. Or you'll really have to yell. So Jesus is confronted by these guys, and they're telling him that the Pharisees are telling Jesus that he is healing in the name of evil, for the sake of evil. So Jesus, he gives it to them now. And so this starts with verse 33. He said, "You must choose between having a good tree with good fruit and a rotten tree that gives rotten fruit. For you can always tell at once a tree by its fruit." And then he proceeds to really give it to him, and he says, "You serpent's brood." If you put that in like 2017 terms, it would make your ears go, right? You serpent's brood. That was probably really offensive back then. "How can you say anything good out of your evil hearts? For a man's words depend on what fills his heart. A good man gives out good from the goodness stored in his heart. A bad man gives out evil from his store of evil. I tell you that men will have to answer at the day of judgment for every careless word they utter. For it is your words that will acquit you, and words that will condemn you." So I don't really know how they took that. But I thought that was like really, he was really giving it to them. So now my feeling is that if Jesus was really healing in the name of Beelzebub, which is what they would call evil back then, I would think if Beelzebub had anything to do with it, if you really believe in that character, that he might be slapping the blind, kicking the lame, and perhaps kicking those people that are lying on their pallets. Why would he heal them if he was doing it in the name of evil? That doesn't even make any sense. So Jesus points out to them that a bad tree cannot produce good fruit. So we're assuming that the good is the healing. So where does the evil part come in? It was just like, really? So Jesus was pointing that out to them. So if your heart is good, then only good can come from it. And if your heart is full of, well, they use the word evil, but I'm going to say the word error. I like the word error better. That only error can come from it. So it really doesn't matter how outwardly pious you are, what kind of activities you may engage in, because remember the Pharisees, they were seen at the temple every day when they were supposed to be there. But if you are going to the temple every day, but you are oppressing the poor and confiscating the property of widows and orphans, as the Pharisees were actually doing, then the tree may look good, but by their activities you can tell that it's really like bad fruit. You can't hide your crookedness or your bad fruitiness, let's say. So, Jesus is essentially teaching us in this lesson that if you have a healthy attitude in your mind and in your heart, that it will actually show up in your life, because nothing else could show up if you have goodness and love in your heart. But if you are full of error thinking, it shows up every time you open your mouth. And at last, Jesus does say to them, you will be justified or condemned by the very words that you speak. And as my mother used to say, a word to the wise is sufficient. So let us say our statement of being together in order of service. God is all, both invisible and visible. One presence, one mind, one power is all. This one that is all is perfect life, perfect love, and perfect substance. I am the individualized expression of God, and am ever one with this perfect life, perfect love, and perfect substance.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here again today. Thank you. In and out of situations that tug of war at me all day long. I struggle for the answers that I need. Then I come into God's presence. All my questions become clear, and in that sacred moment, no doubt can interfere, 'cause in the presence of Jehovah, God Almighty, Prince of Peace, troubles vanish, hearts are mended in the presence of the King. Through His love, the Lord provided a place for us to rest, a place to find the answers in the hour of our distress. Now there's never any reason for you to give up in despair.
peace.
That was beautiful,
Yes.
as always. Thank you so much. It's lovely. Now's the time in our service when we each get to go in a little bit, be quiet. I should bring forth the box if there are any prayers in there. Make you warm there, girls? I invite everyone to get comfortable. Just take a breath. Just relax in your seat. Get into a comfortable position. You can stay in for a couple of minutes. If you did not put someone's name in the prayer box, that's okay. For you can hold any number of people in your heart right now that you'd like to think about specifically today in this moment. As we pray, sitting here in the sanctuary, and that we know that the words that we hear today are for ourselves and for anyone else we might wish to have a good thought for and pray for. Let's take another breath. Be still and know that I am God. I am still in thy presence, God of my being. I am quiet and peaceful, for I put my trust in thee. A great stillness washes over me, and a great calm quiets my whole being as I realize thy presence. My heart knows of thee, O Most High within. It is still in thy presence, and my heart puts its whole confidence in thee alone. Life is. It is natural goodness and kindness. It is peace, joy, and wholeness. I live in this life, and it flows through me and is in everyone and everything. I am one with all that is. Life is the omnipresence of God, manifesting everywhere in its entirety and fullness. In joy, I go within to meet life, to meet the God of my being. I expect life to respond. I have no anxiety, for there is no anxiety in God. I trust and I relax. I believe. I refuse to dwell in the darkness of unbelief. I refuse to become overcome by negative suggestions. I boldly step through that place of doubt and plant my feet on the solid rock of faith. Life is. I don't allow anything to stagnate within me. I loose everything that is within me, and I expect a larger flow. I keep open every channel. I am alive, awake, and aware. I live, think, and act as though the entire nature of life were delivered to me personally. I believe that in every moment there exists infinite possibilities. Right now, I am living as perfect life expressing in every cell. My body is illuminated with healing life and light. Anything that is not good for my highest and best is released and returns to nothingness. I am divinely guided so that everything becomes a part of the healing energy of spirit restoring me. For I know that with God, with life, all things are possible. Let us be quiet within ourselves for just a few moments. And while we are still, let us pray together the way Jesus taught his disciples. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed is thy name. Thy kingdom is come, thy will is done, on earth as it is in heaven. Thou givest us this day our daily bread. Thou forgivest us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Thou leadest us not into temptation, but dost deliver us from all evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Thank you, Rick. It's lovely. The title of my short talk today is called I Win Either Way. As most of you know, I was diagnosed with a life-threatening aggressive cancer a few months ago. At least that's what the doctor said. Of course, my first response was, no, I don't. They say the feisty ones live the longest, so. Well, then, of course, he gave me those doctor eyes. And I said, okay, so what do we do now? Well, as most people know also, I'm currently on oral chemo that I have to take every day, and the doc says I'll have to take it for the rest of my life. And I say, we'll see about that. So, what's the prognosis, doc? Well, he tried to give me an answer, but he really doesn't know. And I say that it really doesn't matter, because I win either way. The word of an authoritative figure like the oncologist, it's even a scary word when they say you have to go see the oncologist, right? It carries a lot of heavy weight for most people and can produce far-reaching effects. So the pronouncement of the doctor that a certain disease will have a disastrous effect on someone's life can, when believed, counteract all the healing forces of nature. So, what do I believe? The doc's pronouncement of disease in reality doesn't really matter to me because I win either way, whether I have a shortened life or 20 or 30 more years. So you may say, what is she talking about? Why do I win either way? Because I believe. No, I know that I am eternal. I believe in transmigration of the soul. I believe that I will move into a different expression after I leave this pinchable body. I believe that if I am able to change my body, if I am to change my bodily condition, I must change my state of consciousness. For if I do not, the body will never change its condition. I believe that my life is a laboratory where I get to experiment to my heart's content. I believe that I am God's opportunity to express my individuality right here, right now, on planet Earth at this time, because I believe that God is good. When? Class?
All the time.
There you go. That's what we do in my class, the last thing we say when I leave. So what is it again? God is good when?
All the time.
All the time. So all the time means all the time. Not just when I think it's convenient, not just when I think it's good, but it's good all the time. God is good all the time. So I win either way this goes. It doesn't matter. A shortened life on this planet or a longer one. Because I am never not. So it doesn't matter. I believe that this diagnosis is a gift from God. It's a gift. It is not a cosmic 2x4 that some, universal spirit is smacking me upside the head trying to get my attention. This is a gift from the God of my being. It is not a punishment, but a consequence of my own ideas, thoughts, words, and actions. We can even call it karma if we want to. I see it as a gift, and I intend to use this gift wisely. So I had to ask myself, after years of meditating and affirming the good, how in the did this happen? Expletive, 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 with big, exclamation points on them. How did this happen? Well, I could blame it on hairspray every morning. I could blame it on the pesticides in my food, air pollution, global warming, heredity, chemtrails, power lines, too many green drinks, not enough sleep, too much sugar, the people in my life. So many things to blame, so little time. Right? I mean, come on. Everybody's got a list of things we blame for different things. But we also know that blaming keeps us in the problem. So as a metaphysical thinker, I know that I am 100% responsible for my experiences. That makes me feel powerful. That also makes me not a victim of any circumstance that happens in my life. So I own this, what's happening to me. I own it. It's mine, for whatever reason. If I brought it on, I can send it away. If I am the victim of somebody doing it to me, like I think God did it to me, then I'm a victim, and I can't fix anything or do anything about it. But I choose not to believe that. So, no persons, not the environment, the products I use, the food I eat, none of that has anything to do with anything. So, next I have to say, well, what have I been thinking? What have I been saying? What have I been creating? If I believe that life is lived from the within out, if I believe that the kingdom of heaven is within, if I believe that the power of life and death is in my word, then I have to look inside. There's nowhere else for me to look. I mean, everybody can look anywhere they want, but for me, I have to look inside because it's an inside job. So now, of course, I can't even talk about this without talking about our favorite guy, Job. Every time I saw that in the Bible, I went, who would name their kid Job? That doesn't even make it. What is that? So the story of Job. I mean, now, when I look at his name, I just want to put an E on the end. Okay, so even though it appeared that Job did everything right in his outer experiences, horrible things started to happen to him. And he got really mad. And he was wondering if he was the victim of a cosmic frame-up. In fact, I can hear Job now. Oi, I've been framed. This is unfair. I don't deserve this. Why are these things happening to me? He tried to reason with God by saying, I'm a good man. I even perform sacrifices before my kids do something stupid that needs to be atoned for. Come on, really? I could just see him with his long flowing beard and everything, and his robes and everything. Really? Oi! I can just see him. He's so mad. And he really did. He would do sacrifices ahead of time, preemptively, because his kids did bad things all over the place. So he did his atonements and his sacrifices ahead to atone for something that might happen next week or 2 months from now. So he was really proactive in his religious life. But he appeared to be good, religiously good in doing all the correct religious practices, but something else must have been going on in his consciousness in order for those horrible things to start happening to him. So finally he did figure out the resolution to his dilemma was an inside job. I suspect that he really was good, but I think that there's something else in there that wasn't right. And he could have been guilty of faulty thinking and or slovenly speech and not even be aware of it. Because our words and our thoughts can be very toxic to our body. Modern scientists certainly are coming to that conclusion these days. And also, back in the 70s, anybody remember Dr. Bernie Siegel? Right? He bald guy, front of his book is pink, and he talked about words having an effect on your body. Like you go to the doctor, and he says to you, "You have cancer." Right away, he says half of your cells just go, "Oh, okay, never mind," and they just give up. Well, I told the doctor, I said, "Don't ever say that to me again. Once was enough. I get it. I know what you're saying, but let's not talk about that." It said in different places that every time we speak, it causes the atoms in our body to tremble and change places. So perhaps the many things I've spoken over the last few years have rearranged my atoms in a confusing way. We also raise and lower the vibration of the environment that we're in, the people that we're in, by the words that we speak. So have I been raising or lowering vibrations? The authors of the Bible, which of course we know is Basic Instructions Before Leaving Earth, B-I-B-L-E, right? You're supposed to chuckle. You're supposed to get that. Basic Instructions Before Leaving Earth. B-I-B-L-E. They thought this idea about us using our words was so important that it's like all over the Bible. And here's just a few interesting wordings of that. Death and life are in the power of the tongue. Whosoever keepeth his mouth and his tongue keepeth his soul from troubles. A fool's mouth is his destruction, and his lips are the snare of his soul. Now this one I think is pretty harsh, but it's really good. Seest thou a man that is hasty in his words? There is more hope for a fool than in him. I thought that was funny. Pleasant words are as honeycomb, sweet to the soul and health to the bones. Put away from thee a wayward mouth, and perverse lips put far from thee. He that would see good days, let him refrain his tongue from error, and his lips that they speak no guile. They had such a poetic way of saying, shut up. Who Melanie's kids in her class think is a cuss word. Don't tell them I said that in church. Every idle word that men speak, they shall give account thereof in the day of judgment. So everybody's really familiar with that one. Okay, so in an effort to sort of understand what was going on with me, I went back to an author who I had not read actually since the early 90s. It was a book by Louise Hay called You Can Heal Your Life. Read it. She wrote it in the early 80s, and I've had it for a million years. And it's just, sometimes I go back to it, but I went back and was reading some of her stuff. And everybody knows she's a religious science minister, and she's been through all kinds of stuff. And she's credited with having counseled the longest living AIDS patient ever. So she was obviously doing something right. However, I didn't realize, and I did not remember that she had cancer. Through taking responsibility for her own healing, by using alternative healing modalities, everything at her disposal. So everything she used things in the outer. She went to the doctor, she went to alternative healing people, and she did her work at the same time. So by taking this responsibility for her own healing, she was able to release resentment of the past, forgiving and relinquishing all the criticism of herself and others, and learning to love herself more. She was able to come to a place of wholeness, and she did not even have to have an operation to remove the cancer because she dissolved it. She told the doctor, you need to give me 3 or 4 months. You're not doing anything to me now. And she did all this work. Went back to the doctor and was dissolved completely. It was very intense work that she did. But she also used outer healing methods too. She did both. My situation was a little bit different, as I was already actually close to leaving my body in May. I had no idea, actually. So I couldn't say, well, I need a few months. So if I said I need a few months, I wouldn't be standing here now. So I'm on oral chemo, I'm going to say for now. And every morning I affirm its life-giving properties. When I sit down with my glass of water and I take my meds, I give thanks, knowing that they are the energy of spirit restoring me and healing me. I take those meds and I say, I know that man invented this but couldn't have done it without God, without that spiritual wisdom, and this came from God. I know that I'm only taking this as a temporary measure, and I know that it is good. So I'm seeing new value and different value, and valuing different and new things in my life. So, taking Louise Hay's lead, I'm really working on not criticizing myself. I stop myself if I feel myself being resentful or judgmental. If it comes up, I just stop myself. I do forgiveness work every day, and I love myself more. She says that's the ticket. That's what we all need to be doing. So I say, I can make myself crazy by trying to figure out how I got here. Because you know how circular reasoning goes. You think it was this, you think I said that, and what did I do 5 years ago, and 40 years ago, and oh my gosh, I've been carrying this around with me forever. Well, it doesn't really matter, because the past is the past, and I can't change that. But I can change what's happening to me in my thinking, and in my spoken word, and my actions. I can change all of that right now. Because by changing my present, I'm also changing my future. And by future, I could mean tomorrow, next week, or my next lifetime. It just doesn't really matter. I just know that something has got to change. Something in my consciousness must change. I got to revamp the whole thing. But I don't have to know how I got here. I just have to know now where I'm going. So here's what I know. I am 100% responsible for all the experiences in my life. Every thought I think is creating my future in this life and in future expressions. The point of power is always now. It is not somewhere out there nebulously in time. It's always right this minute. The way to meet a problem is to raise consciousness. I must release the past, forgiving myself and others. I must release resentment and criticism, and I must learn to love myself unconditionally so I can love others unconditionally. As it says in Isaiah chapter 58, then shall thy light break forth as the morning, and thy healing shall spring forth speedily. Let's be still for just a moment. Let us not see a challenge as a problem, but as an opportunity for greater expression. Let us rearrange our thinking in such a way that we permit new ideas to flow in. May we release any ideas, fears, and tensions that restrict this flow. It is the nature of life that the more we use it, the more it is delivered into our keeping for our use. Let us always use life to expand our self-expression. May we live in conscious, not unconscious, may we live in conscious and enthusiastic recognition of the gift of life. And so it is.
Wow, Nancy. And I can totally relate. I had the same diagnosis, sort of, and the prognosis was kind of slim, but I'm here today with God's grace and know what you went through, somewhat. We pick our songs, we don't know what you're going to preach on or anything like that. But this is totally with what's happening in our lives with Charlottesville and everything. It just kind of really, it says the same things in our lives that we need to say in light of those things happening. So if you listen to the words, you'll see what I mean. Though I see no end in sight, I stand in line with those who made a vow to never stop the fight, and to trust that you can comprehend a loss you've never known will take a love that I have searched for. But love I cannot find alone. Lord, teach me to love. Show me how to care for others. Cause my soul to burn within for the fellowship of others. Only you can break the chains that have held me for so long. Lord, you're my hope, my only hope. Teach me to love. There's no power but the power of God's love that can melt my humble heart and show me any pride and selfishness that tear our souls apart. For injustice that's been suffered, and when I turn my head away, I only ask for your forgiveness. We need to learn to love again. Lord, teach me to love. Show me how to care for others. Cause my soul to burn within for the fellowship with others. Only you can break the chains that have held me for so long. Lord, you're my hope, my only hope. Teach me to love. So daily I seek to know Christ who suffered for us all. I find the courage to ask again and again. Lord, teach me to love. Show me how to care for others. Cause my soul to love within for the fellowship with others. Only you can break the chains that have held me for so long. Lord, you're my hope, my only hope. You're my hope, my only hope. Yes, you're my hope, my only hope. Teach me to love.
That was beautiful. We're all so beautiful and powerful when we're all together. Let's take this time to recite the blessing of the gifts together. It's in your order of service. Today I acknowledge God, omnipresent, as the source of all good, as the source of my good. With this acknowledgement, I accept His will, which is abundance in every aspect of my life. I release all thoughts of lack and limitation, and I am open and receptive to the increased flow of abundance to me right now. I joyfully accept the gifts of life and give freely with such gift that I am. Through me, God omnipresent, blesses and multiplies this gift for all. Thank you, dear God. We have a prayer basket coming around with prayers that you might add to your own list.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Can you hear me again? Right. Okay, short announcements today. Potluck right after the service, so please come next door. Even if you didn't bring anything, that's okay. We will have plenty to eat. Board meeting tomorrow, 4 o'clock in the annex. Starts at 4 o'clock on time, whether you're here or not. So everybody's welcome, so if you want to come to board meeting, feel free to do so. Thursday, August the 24th, we're going to have dinner out at Mac and Bob's in Salem at 6:30. So we'll be announcing that again next week. Also, school's getting ready to start. May have already started in some places, but as you know, we try to do things for the Oak Grove Elementary School. So we got boxes over here. We'd like to fill those boxes up with school supplies in the next couple of weeks. There's a list of things that they can use and probably some other things that Martha might know about that they need, and we can add that to the list. But a lot of places are having sales on the pencils and paper and all that. So let's try to fill those couple of boxes up before school starts in the next couple of weeks. Also, this week's flowers are sponsored by me for Melanie's birthday. Happy birthday, Miss Melanie. And we're glad to see Melanie back and know that her surgery has gone well, and hope to see her back up here soon. And it was a pleasure, Nancy, to see you back up here. Thank you. Did you have anything about your classes or anything?
Oh, yes. I'm continuing to do that series of DVDs on those things about other people that you don't notice, but you will notice, and be able to read them and read yourself more clearly once you know about them. That's at 6:30 tomorrow evening, and it's fun. Please come.
Stand together and sing hymn number 88, Verses.